So today we're going to be going through every single letter of the alphabet and picking the best current active UFC fighter based off that letter. Now this is going to be based off their first name, not their second name. So starting off the list, we have got Alexandre Pantoja. Now don't lie, do not lie. Everybody there thought Alex Pereira, because when I was thinking of this idea, instantly Alex Pereira popped into my mind. But it is Alexandre Pantoja. He is definitely the best for the A category, if we're being honest. En route to becoming the greatest flyweight of all time. I actually think he will get that title. I do. I think when you look at the names on his resume, he won't match Demetrius Johnson in title defenses, but I think his resume will be better. Which therefore I kind of think we're in the transitional period where names on resumes kind of have to count more than some title defenses against fucking plumbers. Do you know what I mean? But Pantoja is definitely the best for the A category. Probably the most disrespected fighter right now in the UFC. The fact this guy is number 10 pound for pound doesn't make any sense. Like, JDM beats Bilal Muhammad. JDM was never even near the pound for pound rankings. Beats Bilal Muhammad. And then instantly skyrockets over Pantoja. It just doesn't make any sense at all. This guy's an active defending champion. Has basically cleared out his entire division. Like, this guy's just running laps around the flyweight division right now. So A is Alexandre Pantoja. Alexandre Pantoja, yeah, I think I said his name right there. Moving on to B, there can only be one. It's Bully B, Bilal Muhammad. Obviously coming off that loss to JDM at UFC 315. Actually give us a very entertaining fight for once. I did pick JDM to beat Bilal Muhammad. I thought Bilal Muhammad would fall in love with this Canelo hands type thing and choose to just stand with JDM, where he would lose striking exchanges a lot. And that's kind of what happened. He couldn't get JDM down. JDM kind of put on a really masterclass performance in there against Bilal Muhammad, if we're being honest. Beat Bilal Muhammad like 4 rounds to 1. But Bilal Muhammad is clearly the best for the B category. Former welterweight champion, has beaten a lot of good guys in the UFC, like a Leon Edwards, like a Gilbert Burns, handed Sean Brady his first ever loss by TKOing him. He's also beat the likes of Vicente Luque. He's also beaten Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Bilal Muhammad does have a very elite resume in the welterweight division, and he is perfect for letter B. Moving on to C, it can only be one guy. Charles Dublancs! Charles Dublancs! Charles Oliveira is clearly for the C category. One of the greatest lightweights of all time, top 3. Probably has maybe the most entertaining title run in UFC history, if I'm just remembering off the top of my head. He's beaten the likes of Michael Chandler twice, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Kevin Lee, Tony Ferguson. This guy has a stacked resume. He really has. Obviously, lost the belt to Islam Makhachev. Currently, he's kind of like a win one, lose one type fighter, if we're being honest. Beat Gaethje, lost to Islam, beat Gaethje, lost to Islam, beat Beneil Dariush, lost to Arman, beat Michael Chandler. But Charles Oliveira is obviously going into a massive title fight here against Ilia Topuria at UFC 317, which I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here, folks, but I do think that is going to be Oliveira's last ever fight. I have a funny feeling he's going to retire when he gets knocked out by Ilia Topuria inside 2 rounds. But Charles Oliveira is definitely the perfect fighter for the C category. Moving on to D, it is Dricus du Plessis. That there rhymes. DDP is on track to becoming the best middleweight of all time. If he is able to beat Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 319, I don't even want to hear it anymore. This guy is the best. Plain and simple, he's the best middleweight of all time if he does that. The current run that he is on, Derek Brunson, Darren Till, Robert Whittaker, Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya, Sean Strickland again. Also, he's beat the likes of Brad Tavares as well, who I don't know if Brad Tavares has actually been released from the UFC recently. Something's telling me he has. But he's been a mainstay in the middleweight division for a very long time. DDP is the best. Top 5 pound for pound right now, in my opinion. Do I think he beats Khamzat? As of right now, gun to the head, no. I think Khamzat will beat him. Although if anybody can beat Khamzat, it is the man that looks like he's fighting underwater in Dricus du Plessis. Moving on to E. Now look, there's some letters in here that are actually kind of hard to get a name for. So maybe you might think of someone better. Let me know in the comments below. But Edmund Shabazian is the guy that is going to be taking the E spot. Who remembers Edmund Shabazian when he was undefeated? I'm pretty sure, did he train with Ronda Rousey, or was Ronda Rousey like his coach at one point. There was something to do with Ronda Rousey anyway. This guy was being like titled the next big thing. Then he ran into Derek Brunson. We all know what happened then. Since then, he's been a win-loss type of fighter. Edmund Shabazian definitely hasn't lived up to his full potential, in my opinion. He is coming off a win, though, over Dylan Budka at UFC Las Vegas 102. I'm pretty sure that was the Cannoneer Robocop card, if I remember correctly. But yeah, Edmund Shabazian was titled to be the future of the UFC. Hasn't really played out for him, but he is taking the E spot. In at F, we have got Farid Basharat. Now, obviously, he is 13-0. His best win of his career, in my opinion, is Taylor Lapulus. Obviously, he's not in the rankings yet. There's not really much to go off, to be honest. Do I think he'll become champion? No, I do not. Moving on, we have got G is Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal is so underrated, in my opinion. This guy's got really good boxing. He's really powerful. He's beat a lot of good guys in the welterweight division. Obviously, coming off a win over RDA at UFC 308, although it was kind of like a weird one. RDA's like Granda legs just blew up mid-fight, and that's how he got the win. But even in a loss against Shavkat Rakhmonov, Jeff Neal really showed a lot of holes in Shavkat's game. He's also beat, I'm pretty sure Jeff Neal has knocked out Bilal Muhammad. If he hasn't knocked him out, he's beat him anyway, I know that. Jeff Neal, he goes under the radar, arguably beat Ian Gary in their matchup as well. Jeff Neal, he is a good like top 10 gatekeeper, in my opinion, in the UFC. Moving on to H. Now look, you might not let me get away with this one, but I really struggle to find someone for H. I'm going to be honest. Again, you might know someone better in the comments below, so do definitely let me know. But Holly Holm is who I've put there. Obviously, former UFC champion. Obviously, had a mega moment in the UFC, beating Ronda Rousey by that head kick, which was insane. A part of me feels like she fought in January, but they're saying her last fight was in UFC 300. So maybe I'm just going delusional, and that was against Kayla Harrison, where she gets submitted in the second round. She is now moving over to boxing. She has signed with MVP, that is Jake Paul's promotion. So we'll see what happens for Holly Holm in the future. Obviously, she was a boxer before she went over to MMA, but like I said, I struggled for H. She's taken the H category. Moving on to I.
Brother.
You don't know how bad I wanted to pick Ilia Topuria. I'm going to be honest. You know, a part of me feels like it should have been Ilia, but when I'm putting bias aside, it is Islam Makhachev. The guy's the point for point number one right now in the UFC. He's top 5 all time, in my opinion. The greatest UFC lightweight of all time. Just the names that he's beaten. Volkanovski twice, one of them being by KO. Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier by finish. He also finished Charles Oliveira. Submitted Money Moicano on short notice. Who else is he? He beat up Bobby Green. He submitted Dan Hooker. This guy has got a crazy resume, in my opinion. He is going to move up to the welterweight division now to take on JDM. Really, the UFC have robbed me from my dream matchup, if we're going to be honest, because I needed to see Ilia versus Islam. But who knows, maybe Islam wins the welterweight title, Ilia moves up to the welterweight division, becomes the first 3-division world champion, because I don't think Islam Makhachev can outrun Ilia Topuria forever. But in all seriousness, the point for point number one right now in MMA, he is extremely good. I think he does beat JDM. I think he submits him inside 3 rounds. Islam is obviously taking the I category. Moving on to J, it is John Jones.
But what the hell, boy?
Does he deserve his point for point ranking as number 2? Absolutely. Under no circumstances is John Jones the second best point for point fighter right now in MMA. He is obviously coming off that win over Stipe Miocic. I actually feel bad for Stipe. They wheeled him out of a retirement home to just get spinning back kicked to the body by John Jones. Obviously, currently he is out there getting a bit fruity in Thailand. Obviously, we know he plays for the other team, John Jones, secretly. But he's stuck in Tom Aspinall. We need to see the Tom Aspinall matchup, but he is the GOAT. I just want to add that in there as well. He is the greatest of all time. I know people will say, but he took PEDs, so how can you say he's the GOAT? Wake up. Yeah, at least one point in some fighters' career, they've taken a substance that was banned, that isn't anymore, or wasn't banned, that is banned nowadays. If that was the case, you're looking at a go to fucking CM Punk, maybe. You know what I mean? So I hate that argument, to be honest. But yeah, John Jones for J, no brainer. Moving on, 4K. It could have been Kamaru Usman. It could have been. I'm not going to be annoyed if you say that. But as of right now, in terms of active fighters, it is Khamzat Chimaev. He is currently undefeated, 14-0, coming off a win over Robert Whittaker where he literally broke Robert Whittaker's face. He has beaten some good names in the UFC, let's be honest. Whittaker, Usman should have been a draw, but he beat Usman. Kevin Holland, Gilbert Burns, which was an absolute war. Li Jingliang, and the best win of Khamzat's career, Rhys McKee. Yeah, Rhys McKee. Now, you might say that's biased because I'm from where Rhys McKee's from, but I don't really think it is. If you look at what Rhys McKee has done, there's no bias here whatsoever. But yeah, Khamzat Chimaev obviously is taking the K spot. Probably going to be the future middleweight champion, if we're being honest. Moving on for L, we have got Leon Edwards. Obviously, Leon Edwards is on a 2-fight skid at the minute, getting embarrassed by Sean Brady. Like, I can't believe I actually paid my hard-earned money to go get flights to London, get a hotel, go to UFC London to see that absolute drivel that Leon Edwards put on. But before that, he also lost to Bilal Muhammad in a performance that actually isn't as bad as what people think it is. Like, the fight was shit, let's just be honest, but Bilal didn't really dominate Leon the way people make it out to be. That fight was a lot closer. Obviously, he had kick KO'd Kamaru Usman, beat Usman in the trilogy, beat Colby Covington. He was undefeated for 9 years. He's beaten Nate Diaz, RDA, Colby Covington, already said that, Donald Cerrone. He's beaten a lot of good guys, Leon Edwards. Does he make a comeback? I don't know. I think his next fight should be Michael Morales, to be honest. I would like to see that on UFC 319. He's so technical and he's good everywhere. There's just no urgency, if you know what I mean, out of Leon Edwards. Like, if you show him a slight bit of adversity, it's as if the guy just packs up and goes home. Moving on for M, it is Merab. Merab is top 5 right now in the UFC, in my opinion. He's on a legendary run. He's beaten Sean O'Malley, Jose Aldo, Petr Yan. Who else has he beat? Umar Nurmagomedov, which is going to age really well. And who else has he beat? Henry Cejudo as well. Henry Cejudo. I always forget the Henry Cejudo win. Merab is top 10 all time, by the way. I'm just going to be honest. I know he doesn't have a lot of title defenses, and I know a lot of people say he is boring, but his wins are next level. This guy's resume is insane. Arguably might have currently the best resume right now in terms of active fighters. Do I believe that? Have I really said something I don't believe? I mean, his resume stacked, like Aldo, Yan, O'Malley, Cejudo. Like, he's beaten a lot of good guys. Like, he's definitely top 5 right now, top 10 all time. Moving on for N, it is Nassourdine Imavov. Obviously, Nassourdine Imavov is the number 1 ranked right now in the middleweight division. Arguably should be fighting for the middleweight title over Khamzat Chimaev, if we're going to be honest. Let's just be honest. And let's just be real. Yeah, Nassourdine Imavov, obviously in a crazy win streak. Just knocked out Israel Adesanya, beat up Brendan Allen, stopped Jared Cannonier, I know it was an early stoppage, but still, and beat Roman Dolidze. He is on a big win streak right now. What's next for him? He is the backup fighter to UFC 319, I believe. So we'll probably not see Nassourdine Imavov until we find out the winner of DDP Khamzat, and then I think Imavov fights them. That's what I think. Moving on for O, we have got Oban Elliott. Oban Elliott, he is 12-2 right now, coming off a win over Basil Hafez. Oban Elliott, he's on the prelims this weekend. Don't know why. That fight night card's ass, by the way. But yeah, Oban Elliott, the Welsh gangster, he's taking the spot for O. Moving on for P, we have got Petr Yan. Petr Yan, awesome fighter to watch. Probably one of the most well-rounded fighters in the UFC. Although he did lose to my boy Aljo twice. Shout out to Aljamain Sterling. I was going to say bantamweight GOAT there, but he's not because of Merab. But he's the second best bantamweight of all time. Don't come at me and say it's Dominic Cruz. You don't know ball. I instantly know you don't have ball knowledge if you're telling me it's Dominic Cruz. But yeah, he has beaten the who's who. Beaten Davison Figueiredo, Song Yadong. He did beat O'Malley in their matchup, let's be honest, but it's counted as a loss. He's beaten the likes of Aldo as well. Petr Yan, Corey Sandhagen as well. Petr Yan, former bantamweight champion, and always fun fighter to watch. I would love to see him versus Umar next, but I don't think we're getting that for some reason. They're talking about him versus Marcus McGee, which is a fight that just doesn't make any sense. What I think should be next for him, maybe give him like a Cheeto Vera. Yan Cheeto Vera is a fun one, I think. Moving on for Q, we have got Quillen Kelly. I don't know how the fuck to say that guy's name. Anyway, he made his UFC debut at UFC 312 against Ancelot Jubilee. Do not redeem, sir. Do not redeem. Made his debut against the GOAT, obviously, in the lightweight division. He is 8-1. I don't know too much about him, though. I didn't think we would get anybody for this letter, but this guy came in clutch, so shout out to him. Moving on to R, we have got Robert Whittaker. Look, Robert Whittaker has so much more to give in his UFC career, in my opinion. A lot of people say he's washed because of what happened against Khamzat Chimaev. It's Khamzat fucking Chimaev, yeah? Let's use our brains here. But Robert Whittaker still has a lot more to give, in my opinion. He is fighting RDR in the main event of UFC Fight Night Abu Dhabi. Weird place to have that matchup headline, but I'm all for it. I think it's going to be a fun matchup. Could it be a carbon copy of Robert Whittaker versus Dricus du Plessis? Because I know going into the DDP matchup, I literally said Robert Whittaker is going to make DDP look like a heavy bag. And that just did not happen at all. Robert Whittaker did get finished by Dricus du Plessis. People say he's chinny. And yes, he is. He does get hurt a lot in fights, but like I just remember recently of him being hit with that spinning heel kick from Paulo Costa, and it didn't, like, it rocked him, yeah, like he was dancing, he was hitting the moonwalk in the cage, but didn't drop him. You know what I mean? And he's got a lot of good wins in the division. Obviously, former middleweight champion. His fights with Yoel Romero were awesome, some of my favourite of all time. He's beaten the who's who in the division as well. Robert Whittaker still got a lot more to give, and I think he beats RDR. I think his jab's going to be money for him in there. I think he is going to make RDR look like a heavy bag, so history could be repeating itself here, but I think he's just too quick on the feet for RDR, and RDR doesn't carry that punch power. Moving on to S, we have got Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley, former UFC bantamweight champion, top 3 strikers right now in the UFC, top 3 most entertaining fighters to watch right now in the UFC, in my opinion. Obviously, had a pretty boring matchup against Merab, but it's Merab. Look at his matchup against Chito Vera, one of the most dominant title-winning performance, or not, one of the most dominant title defense performances ever. Like, he beat the living piss out of Chito Vera. I heard he beat Aljamain Sterling to win the belt. I don't remember watching that fight. I think it is AI generated, but anyway, that is what it says. And also, he's got wins over Petr Yan as well. Sean O'Malley's always fun to watch. I think he is going to beat Merab in the rematch. Moving on to T, it is Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall, he's a great fighter. I'm shit at fucking impressions. I don't know why I try and do them. Anyway, Tom Aspinall is the best heavyweight right now in the UFC. Best heavyweight in MMA right now. He is the undisputed champion. I don't care what anybody says. I do not care. This guy has beaten basically any good name in the heavyweight division outside of Almeida and Cyril Gane, Tom Aspinall has beaten him. Curtis Blades, Ty Burra, Alexander Volkov, Sergey Spivak. He's beat former UFC heavyweight champions like Andrei Arlovsky. Jones is ducking this guy. I can't believe the guy's 32. He's in the prime of his career, and his career is being wasted. Absolutely wasted. It's criminal what's going on right now in the UFC, and he beats John Jones as well. Moving on to you, we have got Umar Nurmagomedov. He is going to be a future UFC bantamweight champion. I'm just going to be honest. This guy is good. I don't think he beat Merab. I know a lot of people said he did. He didn't. Merab won that fight 3 rounds to 2, in my opinion. But Umar Nurmagomedov is going to be a future champion. I think he has the skill sets. He's still young at 29 years of age. I think he will become UFC bantamweight champion at some point. Moving on to V, we have got Valentina Shevchenko, one of the greatest female fighters of all time. The amount of title defenses she's had, the names that she's beaten, the fact she's still doing this at nearly 40 years of age, coming off a win over Manon Fiorot at UFC 315. Now, is allergic to having fun fights most of the time. Let's just be honest, her last 2 fights have been absolute dog piss. But Valentina Shevchenko, there's no better fighter for V, in my opinion. Moving on for W, we have got Waldo Cortez Acosta. Look, for some reason, I think this guy's actually going to go like to the top 8, maybe, like fringe top 5 in the heavyweight division. I don't think he's particularly amazing, but he's a bit more, yes, he's still fat, but he's a bit more athletic than some of the other fat guys in the division. He is taking on Sergey Spivak next, which will be a good jump up in competition for him. Obviously, he did fraud check Rebellis of Spain. He was the one that fraud checked him, and then he's coming off a win over former ranked UFC light heavyweight in Ryan Spann. I think he can be a fringe top 5 heavyweight. I'm just going to be honest. Salsa boy. I think he can be a fringe top 5. Moving on now, this was the hardest one. Ji Bin. Now,
Bruh.
look, I'm still going to count this guy. He actually hasn't had a fight in the UFC yet, but he has had a fight on the Contender Series and Road to UFC. So he's being counted on this list. The Stalker by Wadeo boy. But he's a record of 13 wins, 4 losses. No real names that jump out on his resume. Because the Road to UFC, I think, is a bit fabricated with some of the names on that show and who people beat. But yeah, for X, it has to be him. And finally, for Z, it is Zhang Wei Li. Another women's great. She has beaten some really good names like Yao Jianan. She's beaten Tatiana Suarez, handed her first loss. She also should beat Amanda Lemos, Carla Esparza, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Probably had the best women's fight of all time against Joanna Jędrzejczyk the first time around. Easy, Zhang Wei Li. I want to see her versus Valentina Shevchenko next. But yeah, that is it for every single letter of the alphabet. Let me know in the comments below, did I miss anybody out? Should there have been any replacements? We were so close to 1k, so I appreciate all the support as always. And like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I'll see you all again in the next one.